This presentation covers information in the book Achieving a Sustainable Competitive Advantage, which was published by Amazon.com in 2013. The book describes and explains strategic alignment, which is a business planning and management system. It was created to help companies achieve a sustainable competitive advantage. Companies who install strategic alignment within a matter of months will see a measurable improvement in morale. Decision making will become better and more consistent, and financial results will improve, which is enough to pay the price of admission. But companies who install and practice strategic alignment and diligently follow it and get better at it over time can achieve a competitive advantage, which a former IBM chairman referred to as the holy grail of strategic thinking. So what is sustainable competitive advantage? Most companies, greater than 90% of all the companies out there, are constrained in what they can charge for their products or services because of competitive pressures. But some companies have given their customers a reason other than price to buy from them. And these companies have achieved a sustainable competitive advantage where they consistently earn higher margins, especially gross margins, than most of their competitors. The idea for the book got when I looked at companies out there that were founded, grew up, reached the top of their industry, and then at some point started what is apparently an irreversible slide and ended up in going out of business, bankruptcy, being acquired, but eventually they died. These companies that we see here are just a small list of companies that had this fate. As a matter of fact, the corporate wayside is strewn with the corpses and bodies of companies that have followed this life cycle. And it is the rule. However, some companies appear to have avoided that fate. And these companies are the ones that we studied as to how did they avoid the fate? What did they do that's different that allows them to thrive and stay in business? And not all of these companies are new. UPS is over 100 years old. And in our research, we found that these companies and others who probably belong on this list, this is not intended to be an all-inclusive list, this is just examples of some of the companies who have achieved a sustainable competitive advantage. And we found that they all follow most, not all, of 7 guiding principles. Let's quickly go through what they are. The first one, successful companies keep their central focus and top priority on the customer and his or her need. Successful companies identify and select their customers. They do not try to be all things to all people. They differentiate how they serve the recognized need of the selected and identified customer. They develop and promulgate prioritized values that govern how they run their business on a day-to-day basis. Everything they do, all their decisions, initiatives, directions, investments, plans, actions, and reactions are brought into alignment with the central focus and particularly the mission. The leadership preaches the mission throughout the company with a religious-like zeal and commitment. And number 7, every employee, including the CEO, subordinates his or her needs to the needs of the company. One of the primary goals of the book was to take what has up to now been an art that's discovered and practiced by a few like Steve Jobs, Fred Smith of FedEx, Jim Senegal of Costco, and Jim Casey of UPS, and turn it into a science that anybody could follow. So we developed strategic alignment, whose purpose is to help a company achieve a sustainable competitive advantage. Strategic alignment, as I said earlier, is a business planning and management system. It starts with the customer need and ends with the customer reward. And in between are 7 what we have called directives. We're going to briefly describe and discuss each of these directives. First, the need. The purpose of a company is to serve a recognized customer need. This need is not something that's created in the minds of the executives of a company. It must be real and it must be recognized and understood. Of all of the funded startups that fail, 40% of them fail for this reason. The customer need that they thought was out there was just only in their mind, and when they brought their service or product to business, to market, there was no demand or not enough demand to make it scalable. It's the number one reason that funded startups fail. So the purpose of the company, which is the first directive, is to serve the recognized need of the customer. Making money or enhancing shareholder value is not the primary purpose of the company. Pursuing a technology or beating the competition are not the primary purpose of the company. The primary purpose of the company is and must be to fulfill the needs of the customer. The central focus and sense of urgency must always be on the customer and his or her need. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand and agree that financial strength is very important to a company if it is to survive, thrive, and grow. However, making a profit is a metric, is the result of doing business and a measure of how well the company is performing. It is not the purpose of doing business. The purpose of the company is and must be to fulfill the needs of the customer. And in implementing strategic alignment, we write down the purpose of the company. 1 or 2 sentences is fine. And you might be saying, well, how hard is that? Well, I can tell you that I once knew of a company called Door to Door. And Door to Door was one of the first companies to put the pod in your driveway that you fill up with your stuff. But the people inside of Door to Door couldn't agree whether they were a storage company like Public Storage or a moving company like Beacons. And since they couldn't agree on their purpose, they tried to implement both of those purposes, and you can imagine what happened. They are no longer around. So after we do the purpose, then we do the mission statement. This is probably the most challenging aspect of implementing strategic alignment. Because this is not the mission statement that you see hanging on the wall in the lobby of most companies that says we will be the best at what we do and our employees are our most important asset. In strategic alignment, the mission statement is a well thought out, hard-hitting statement of who the customer is. You don't try to be all things to all people. You select and identify who your customer is. You cover what that customer expects from you and what specific products and services you will deliver to that identified customer and how the product or service will be delivered. In some cases, this can become a strategic cornerstone of the company, as it was with Dell when Dell first got started. And how your company will be different from other companies who offer to serve that customer. The mission statement is the heart of strategic alignment. And differentiation is the heart of the mission statement. You can in order to achieve a sustainable competitive advantage, you must have a unique and differentiated business model that you follow and to serve, to recognize the customer and the customer's need and to serve that need. In order for a company to truly differentiate itself, it must know and understand its customers on a continuous basis. And strategic alignment forces leadership and management to focus fiercely on the customer and the customer need. And this is a never-ending task. Business Week magazine every year publishes one issue where they recognize the best corporate performers in publicly traded companies of that year in several categories. And in one of the issues, the article said, what distinguishes many of these organizations is a deep understanding of customers, a competitive advantage that has enabled them to sell more goods and services than their rivals. Strategic alignment also forces leadership and management to ensure, once they know and understand better the customer and the customer need, to ensure that all elements in the company are aligned with the mission to serve that need and ways that provide a true and valuable difference to the. And then they continuously educate all employees about the mission and their part in meeting the customer need, all employees. I can't tell you how many all-employee meetings I've witnessed to where the leader called in all the employees, including the assembly line, shut it down, got them in a room and talked about inventory turns and gross margin. Concepts that most of the employees don't really understand very well, and those that do don't see how they can personally affect those metrics. And I agree with them. The shame is not that just that the time of the employees was wasted, but an opportunity to discuss the customer and the customer need was squandered. So the mission must differentiate how the company will serve the customer need in ways that add real value to the customer. Differentiation is vital to strategic alignment and to achieving a sustainable competitive advantage. And the difference must have true value to the customer. When I ask companies how they are different, the most common answer I get is they say, well, we're smarter. I presume they mean smarter than their competitors. And I'm not even going to discuss whether they are or not smarter, because the customer could care less. The customer cares about one thing: how well you're fulfilling their need. And the difference must have true customer. If a company is to maximize its performance in a sustainable manner, it must truly differentiate itself from its competitors in the eyes of its customers. This differentiation must be real, visible, and understandable to the customer, and the difference must have real value to the customer. The customers must understand that this company that they're dealing with is different. And the difference is almost palpable. They may not be able to verbalize what the difference is, but they know the difference. And that's why they do business with this company. And if you don't give the customer a reason other than price to buy from you, then he or she will make their buying decision based on price. And you don't want to be there, and you will never attain and achieve a sustainable competitive advantage if they're buying from you because of price. The mission also defines and prioritizes the company's values and principles. Values and principles in strategic alignment are important to a company and its employees, and it defines how they operate the company on a day-to-day basis. The values must be well thought out, and they must reflect the true view of the company's executive management towards the business, the customer, the employees, the suppliers, the owners, and the community. And it cannot be faked. If it's not real and if they're not followed, they should not be done to start with, because that will do more damage than good. And companies should always include the following 4 concepts in their statement of values. 1, we will not make commitments to our customers, our employees, and our owners that we cannot keep, and we will keep the commitments we make. We value, respect, and trust our employees, customers, and owners, and we will strive every day to earn and deserve their respect and trust. We treat our customers, our owners, and each other honestly and truthfully, and we obey the law. After the mission comes the vision. The vision statement is about what future you will create for the customer. Vision must include the broadening of products and product lines, the broadening of the customer base, and perhaps growth, the broadening of the geography. Wanting to do these things is easy. Knowing when to do them is the tricky part. And with vision, as with all the other directives in the book, we give many, many examples and anecdotes about companies who succeeded or failed at that particular directive and how and why and what it meant. After vision comes strategy, which is how you will fulfill the mission and the vision. And now we're starting to get more practical. The strategy is a detailed plan of how the company will execute the mission and make the vision happen. The strategy defines who will do what, by when, and with what resources to realize the mission and the vision. This is where we start developing a budget to go along with our business plan. And in strategic alignment, the budget is a statement of the strategy in financial terms. Taken together, the mission, vision, and strategy constitute what we call the leadership directives and are the responsibility of the company's leadership, primarily the CEO, which is why the subtitle of this book is The Playbook for the CEO. After strategy comes structure. What structure supports the mission and the vision? And structure usually includes everything in the company that's written down, like the business plan, the budget, the employee manuals or handbooks, training manuals, quality programs, policies, and procedures. After structure comes systems. These are the people, the processes, and the technology that come together to support the mission and vision. This is where the rubber meets the road and where most of the time, energy, and money of the company are invested. Systems must be horizontally aligned. The people, processes, and technology must be balanced. This is one area where companies have to be careful because a common mistake is to invest in new technology and bring it in the systems, but not put the investment that's needed in the people and the processes to use the new technology. And as a result, productivity goes down, not up, using technology that now has cost you more money. And the systems must be not only vertically aligned with the mission, as are all the directives, but they must be horizontally aligned across the systems of the people, the processes, and the technology, because the systems will be no more effective than its weakest component. Then comes performance. This is the output of the systems, and this is your product or your service that is delivered to and paid for by your customer. So in an aligned company, the leadership directives, which were mission, vision, and strategy, create values and priorities that guide managers, employees, in day-to-day decisions, allowing managers to remove obstacles between the mission and the employees so that employees can meet or exceed the customer's expectations, such that the customer's highest expectations are realized and the company is rewarded with loyalty and high margins. In strategic alignment, leadership and management are two distinctly separate groups with different responsibilities. The leadership is the CEO and the top managers, the chiefs, if you will, of the various departments under the CEO. And it is their job to recognize and understand the customer need, to get out of the office, out of the conference room, and get among the customers and talk to them and find out what floats their boat. And then once you continue to understand and better understand that customer need, to tweak the mission to make sure that it's fulfilling that need in a way that differentiates the company in the eyes of the customer and ensures that the strategy makes the mission happen. And leadership also focuses on the mission and preaches it constantly to all employees, while management ensures that the structure and systems are balanced among themselves and in alignment with all higher directives, especially the mission. And management identifies and removes the obstacles that stand in the way of the employees fulfilling the mission and meeting the customer need as closely as possible. All of the directives align with and support the mission. Any activity that does not support the mission is eliminated. Everything begins and ends with the customer. Perfect alignment is not attainable. The company is either always moving towards or away from alignment. And we give the company 4 metrics that, if followed, will tell the company whether it is moving towards or away from alignment. Different companies are driven by different forces. Mission-based companies who align the elements of the organization are customer-driven, and these are the companies who continually rank at the top of their industry. So in summary, aligned companies are mission-based. They know what they are and what they want to become. They keep focused, they place the customer first, and they trust their employees. And they continually communicate with their employees. And when they believe that the employees have finally gotten it, and they understand strategic alignment, and they understand who the customer is and what the customer need is and how the company fulfills that need, then and only then they empower their employees to serve the customer need. Companies who do these things outperform companies who don't. I thank you for viewing the presentation. My contact information is on this slide, and I welcome contact from you. If you have any questions or comments, and particularly if you are interested in installing strategic alignment in your company and you think I might be of help, please let me know. I prefer email. And again, thank you.